This is Trisha Van Seek, and you're watching PhilippineNews.com.
Thank you all very much. Actually, my 30th anniversary is in June, so thank you for saying my 30th year as we go forward. When we first started the legislation on the Presidio Trust, we said that it would be self-sufficient, this is in the early 90s, by 2013, and I thought, I'll be so long gone by then. But we needed to stay to make sure it happened, and I had to become speaker to get the money to make the whole thing come on already. But anyway, thank you so much. Thank you, Jean, for your very generous words. I accept them on behalf of so many people on both sides of the aisle, Democrats and Republicans, who made this possible, and both sides of our, well, we're one community, but in a bipartisan way here to make it possible. Craig, Acting Superintendent, you spoke so beautifully about William Penn Mott Jr. and what an honor it is to be here with his family, 3 generations, 4 counting William Penn Mott. It reminds me of any of my meetings with our Native American community, and I say this to Andy, Carla, and Desiree, that when we meet with them, before we sit down and before the blessing and the rest, they always say, we always want to be at a place where we're thinking 7 generations back as to what our founding fathers, mothers, etc., our ancestors did to get us where we are, and 7 generations forward as to what our responsibility is. So your grandchildren can look 4 generations back, and you can look several generations forward, but we all can, inspired by our first Americans. Such a beautiful prayer, Andy, Carla, and Desiree. Thank you for bringing luster to this ceremony by giving us your values. Thank you so much for that. Greg Moore has been involved in all of this forever, before time, before recorded history. I mean, there's never been a time when you haven't been involved, Greg. Thank you for your leadership and the National Parks Conservancy, and to the Presidio Trust. There are some other members. I see Nancy Bechtel here, some former members of the Trust we want to thank. Any others? Stand up if I'm not seeing someone who is a former member of the Presidio Trust. Thank you, Nancy Bechtel, for your leadership, as well as Paula Collins. Thank you, Paula. Thank you. Thank you all very much. So here we are, and at the beginning of all of this, we saw the flags of the countries that had Spain, Mexico, the United States of America. And in that succession of countries, we like to take pride in the Presidio when we were passing the legislation on the floor and saying, in all of that transition, there was never a shot fired in anger. Never a shot fired in anger. And that's how we conducted our legislative debate as well, to do so in a respectful way. And that's why we had bipartisan support going in and ongoing for the Presidio, and we take great pride in that. My husband and I, Paul is here. We come here every week, so we feel very much at home in the Presidio, and I can't help but take great pride in what goes on here. So this Presidio Visitor Center, named from William Penn Mott, a champion of public parks, really. Such a wonderful thing, because in honoring your father, it's not, that would be enough, but in honoring your dad, we're honoring him and also all of the National Park Service rangers here and around the country, a recognition of the work that they do in preservation and interpretation. Thank you so much to the Mott family for sharing your wonderful dad with all of us. George Washington High School choral group sang America the Beautiful, and I'm so happy because there are 4 verses, and sometimes people don't always get to the 4th. Oh, beautiful for patriots' dream that sees beyond the years. Think of that, patriots, again, the 7 generations back and forth, that sees beyond the years. Thine alabaster cities gleam, undimmed by human tears. I always think of that alabaster city as being San Francisco. When you look at it at a certain time of day, undimmed by human fears. Never have we needed that inspiration more than now, because it goes on to say, America, America, God shed his grace on thee. And that is how we know we will always be able to get through whatever situation we are in. God's grace and the greatness of America. And one place where we can come together, whether it's in the arts that are here or in the nature that is here, that we have a unifying, civilizing influence in how we work together and see the bigger picture. The Alani blessing really took us to that place as well. So it has been mentioned by the family and by Jean and by Craig, by everyone. This poster park was quite a remarkable thing. It was a new thought to do it in a public-private partnership. But I have to pay tribute to one other person, and Amy is part of all that history as well, Amy Meyer, because there was a visionary. His name was Philip Burton, and he was a member of Congress. He was willing to have this beautiful vision because of Amy Meyer and Dr. Wayburn. They were his muses, right? And he did what they told him to do, sort of. But this is how he did it. In the dark of night, no, I'm just kidding. Maybe, I'm not sure. When there was a bill that established the Golden Gate National Recreation Area, again, Dr. Wayman, Amy Meyer, and others were such an inspiration for that. And Philip Burton was the champion. He probably preserved more land than John Muir, or on a par with, right? The Million Acre Man, okay, inspired by his muses. In any event, when they passed the bill, Philip put in there a little known to many, but potent provision that said when the Presidio was in excess of the needs of the Department of Defense, it would become part of the Park Service. Little red, but well-intentioned and deeply intentioned. So when the 1989 and the base closing and alignment commission put the Presidio on the list, we were appalled. We thought, how could it be? You know, we need this, we need the hospital, we need the this or that. Barbara Boxer and I fought that and that. But then it was clear that it was going to close down, and the military thought this was a good thing because they would use the money for selling the Presidio to invest in other bases and moving the military to other bases. We said that money didn't exist because there was not going to be any development of the Presidio in the private sector in order to just have this park that Philip intended, and Amy and Dr. Weber disappear. So that was the fight. And then what emerged was the Presidio Council. That was so fabulous. Again, nonpartisan, all over the country. People shared their views. The model was the Presidio Trust, a public-private partnership. And this public-private partnership, which said that because there are resources here that could be revenue-producing, that should help pay for the park. There was objection to that. People said, no, it should always be federally funded completely. But the fact that it isn't enables other parks to enjoy some of the resources. So this is not an endless pot. And so in doing that, we not only support the Presidio, but we support other parks as well. Anyway, I'm going more into it because I didn't realize I was going to be recognized in going into that role. I thought we were running more forward. But as has been said, the Native Americans, the great stewards of the earth of America, they've been here for 10,000 years. For immigrants, the Golden Gate was, we call it the Western Statue of Liberty, greeting so many immigrants from the world, giving them hope. And when those immigrants come here, I wish some people would understand, when those immigrants come here with their hope, their determination, their commitment to making the future better for their families, they are honoring the vision of our founders that every generation would make the future better for the next generation. And with that optimism, hope, and courage, those immigrants, they make America more American. So our vantage point here of seeing that in constant reinvigoration of energy, enthusiasm, courage, and determination, and optimism, here we are so blessed. That was even before the Golden Gate Bridge was there. And so it's also about our veterans, how much we owe them for fighting for freedom, which was the vision of our founders. They were the first to found a country based on freedom, and our veterans honor that. And our children who come here, their aspirations, they're learning about nature and history. And that study of nature, that's God's creation. And the evangelicals tell us, as we work with them, this is God's creation. We have a moral responsibility to be good stewards of it. Thank you to the Park Service and to all who support the Presidio for being part of that moral obligation. So now we are at the Presidio with all of those values, all of those responsibilities to have a place of enjoyment, recreation, exploration, meditation. That's what Paul and I mostly do. I don't do too much exercise, but hold on. For residents and visitors. Together we have, so many faces here have been part of this work to preserve this national gem after the Army closures in 1994. And I salute the Army because they were good stewards of the Presidio when they were here as well. So let us thank our friends in the military and the Army for that. Together we took the Presidio off the auction block. Together we created a public-private partnership to preserve the Presidio and provide the cost-effective structure for American taxpayers. And because of your work, your advocacy, so many of you here, this park continues to thrive, not only in its own right, but in its example of national significance to the rest of the country, to use its imagination on how it can preserve parks. People say to me, I want to see the model of what you did. I said, the model of what we did is to do what you do best. So look to your own community and see what springs from that. That is the model we want to be to you. Preserving our heritage is not solely the responsibility of people in elected positions, etc. It's about everyone participating. All of us share a responsibility to protection and improvement of our great city, our country, and our world. And it was mentioned earlier that the 2016 marked the 100th anniversary of the National Park Service. Indeed, cause for celebration. I even have a Monopoly set that is the Park Service. Have you seen that? It's fabulous. You should see that. But let me just say this in regard. When Teddy Roosevelt established the National Park Service, it was a remarkable thing. It came in 2016, but it was his idea. And it was on the 100th anniversary of President Jefferson establishing what he called the Gallatin Plan. The Gallatin Plan was an infrastructure plan for America. He had engaged in Louisiana Purchase and the expansion of America. And this Gallatin Plan was the infrastructure plan of President Jefferson. And it would, Gallatin was the Secretary of the Treasury at the time, that's what was named for him. But it would do the Cumberland Road, the Erie Canal, follow the Lewis and Clark expeditions to build infrastructure across America to unify our country. And then 100 years later, President Teddy Roosevelt, with his love for the parks, as we know is legendary, honored the 100th anniversary with the establishment of a great infrastructure initiative, don't you think? The National Park Service, the greening of our country. And now 100 years later, we continue that work. So it all harkens back to our founders and what they could do to unify. You see President Eisenhower, he unified America with the interstate highway system, which was an infrastructure. Now we have another president talking about infrastructure, so let's hope it is in keeping with protecting the air we breathe, preserving our beautiful national heritage. And let me close by saying, did I say let me close already? Let me close again by saying this. I salute everyone who is here participated in depth. Thank you for managing us all so well here. Not me and my timing, but anyway. The thing is that part of America, the greatness of America is our freedom. Part of it is our national heritage, which is that freedom, but is also the beautiful patrimony of America. America the beautiful. So appropriate that that's where we began today. So appropriate that all of you are honoring that value of America the Beautiful in every way, in our freedom, in our natural resources, in honoring our responsibilities to protect, preserve, interpret them for many generations to come. I'm very honored to have the shadow box. I'm going to go look at it some more, see what's in there. But I did see a lot of little children, and I was very happy to see that, because this is what this is all about, preserving everything for the future. So thank you for the honor. Thank you for the recognition early, my first observance of 30 years on the Congress. And in the event, it is my honor to be here with you to represent this magnificent district in the country and to recognize the work that you have done, so visually apparent here, but as a model of national significance to America the Beautiful. Thank you so much.